Hello and welcome to Lesson 13, Part C in the online Terrestrial Navigation course. Today's lesson is the third in a four-part lesson on how to use the tide tables. Just as in the previous two lessons, you'll need a copy of the 1983 tide tables to solve the problems. If you do not have a copy, you can order one from Marine Education Textbooks in Houma, Louisiana for about $50, or you can check out the description of the video for a link to my Pateron page, where any membership level will get you access to a PDF copy of the tide tables. Your donations on Patreon to help offset the expenses of making these videos are greatly appreciated. Okay, with that, let's take a look at today's lesson. Okay, so today's lesson is a lot like the last lesson, a lot of the same steps. If you haven't already worked lesson 13A and 13B, I would suggest going back and doing those before you dive into this one. If you haven't done so, check the description of the video for a link to a worksheet you can download and work along with all these problems. Alright, so the first question here, it wants to know what will be the time after 08 Eastern Standard Time that the height of the tide at South Freeport, Maine will be 6 feet on 7 November 1983. The first thing we're going to do is set up our scratch paper the same way we did in lesson 13A and B. And then we're going to go to the tide table and get an index number for South Freeport, Maine. Alright, and I happen to know that that index is on page 132. South Freeport, Maine is right here. We're going to get an index number of 869. So let's put that on our scratch paper. And the reason we put this on our scratch paper is because when you get to the end of the problem, if you come up with an answer that's just way off of what the multiple choice answers are, it makes it a lot easier to backtrack and look at what you did, figure out where you went wrong. In this case, we've got an index number of 869, so let's go back to the tide tables and table 2 and find index number 869. If you're using the PDF, that's going to be on page 84. We'll find 869 right here and get our corrections of plus 12 minutes, plus 10 minutes, minus 0.1, and 0 for the low water. Let's put that on our scratch paper. And we'll go back to the tide table and get our primary station, which is Portland. It starts on page 32. Now let's go to the primary stations in the tide table. Portland starts on page 32, but the problem gives us a date of 7 November. That's actually going to be on page 26 of the PDF. Notice we're on Portland, Maine, and our November is this center column, so we'll scroll down to the 7th, which is right here. And the problem is asking after 08, so that 08 time is going to fall between the 6:13 low water and the 12:25 high water. So we're going to take those two tides and those two heights and put them on our scratch paper. And we'll do the arithmetic and check our zone description in the problem, which is plus 5, so there's no zone correction. And now we have our times of high water and low water and our heights of high water and low water. And just like in the previous lesson, we'll need to get our duration and our range. Our duration happens to be 6:14, and our range, we're subtracting a negative, which is actually adding. We get a range of 10.2. Now in the last lesson, we were looking for a time to the nearest tide, and this lesson we're looking for a height to the nearest tide. And our problem wants to know when our tide will be 6 feet, so we're going to see which one of these tides that number is closest to. In this case, it happens to be closer to 10 feet, so we'll do the arithmetic there. come up with 4 feet. All right, and it's 4 feet to high water. So now we can go back to the tide tables and go to table 3, 110 of the PDF. Instead of, on the last lesson, we entered the table here with the duration. In this lesson, we're going to enter the table at the bottom with our range. Now our range is 10.2 feet. So the closest thing we have to 10.2 is this 10-foot line right here. We're going to scroll over until we find that 4-foot correction we're looking for, which is right here. And then we got to go back up to the top. Our duration was 614, which would round to this 620 line right here. And we'll go all the way across that 620 line till we get in the same column as our 4-foot correction down here. And that's going to give us a correction of 2 hours 45 minutes. Would probably be much easier on you if you could print out a copy of this table 3. Much easier than using the PDF version, but you can use it and get the answer. So we have a correction of 2 hours and 45 minutes. So let's go back to our scratch paper here. Now since we're working from high water and our high water was at 1237, our low water was at 623, we're working backwards, so we're going to subtract that correction of 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's going to give us a time of 9:52, which is really close to that C answer, which is 9:51. And that's the way you do this one. All right, so grab that worksheet, work through it until you're comfortable with it, and then move on to the next lesson. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments section. I'll try to answer them as quickly as I can, and I'll see you on the next lesson.